Hello everyone. I know it's been a while since I've done my last video. I've just been busy doing some other stuff, and I have really been thinking about getting back into my next project, which I thought was going to be the Dorothy house. But there's one little project that I want to work on before I start doing that, and it's a little diorama. It's going to be like a one episode thing, but it's going to be a little figure of my relative here in the picture. This would have been my great 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 grandfather, and he was a pottery maker. And so I found this little Migo doll character. Not sure who he is, but I'm going to turn him into my relative. And I've already made his little outfit, but I'll show how I did that. And then I'm going to make like a little diorama for him to stand in. Now, I know a lot of you are probably still waiting for me to start Dorothy's house, and we'll get to that pretty soon. I've got a lot of the stuff to do that, including a bunch of miniatures. I've been hoarding up all this stuff for a couple of months now. Lots of cool furniture pieces. I've been to a lot of doll shows and estate sales, and just been finding some really cool pieces that I think will work for that. But I've also found some really fancy stuff like this. This is way too fancy for Dorothy's little farmhouse. So since I love Scooby-Doo, I thought about doing a haunted house. So I'm also going to do a haunted dollhouse and have all the Scooby-Doo characters. So I've just got all these little things that will work for that. But you know, I've also got an idea to do like a mid-century style house, and I've got all these little poodle dogs. Like I've got this cute little poodle that I thought would look really good in a mid-century house. So I'm going to actually be starting 3 doll houses. Dorothy first, and then somewhere a little after that, I'll work on all of them together just to have, you know, a little break in what my videos are about. So if you're not really into the Wizard of Oz, you can do the Scooby-Doo episodes or whatever. But I'm going to probably start all these together. And I've got a lot of little dolls collected up that can be the characters, as you can see. So there's all this and others that I'll turn into Daphne and Fred and Scooby, and I think I've got just enough characters to do all the Wizard of Oz characters, all the Scooby-Doo characters. And my favorite piece that I've found so far is a bicycle for Miss Gulch. I'll just have to maybe paint that. You know, we never know what color her bicycle was, so the red doesn't really bother me. I may just leave it just the way it is. You know, we can figure that out later, but I just love this little bicycle. And also, I just found this little piece of pottery which will work really good in today's project. So I didn't even know I had that. I just saw that today. So, and then I've got some little pieces. This is some other little pottery pieces that I'm going to use in today's video. But we'll get to all this next. And I may show all this, or I might wait for the next video to go through all these little miniatures. But today I'm going to work on the little diorama for the pottery, and we'll see how that turns out. And then next video, I guess we'll work on the Dorothy house. Alright, so to get started with today's video, let's check out this picture here. This is my, like I said, my great grandfather. And then he had a son, Richard. And then Richard had William, which is where my name comes from. And then William had Betty, who is my grandmother. And then, of course, my granny had my daddy. And, you know, obviously my daddy, and my mama had me. So that's how I am related to Charles Decker. His name is Charles Frederick Decker. And so I've just recently, I mean, I've always grown up around the family, of course, the Decker family, but I've just recently gotten interested in the pottery work that he made. So, and it was a really, even today, it's a famous pottery. So if you look up Charles Decker pottery, you'll find a lot of information about that on the internet. And this is not a very good copy of this picture, but he's standing right back here working on a piece of pottery at his potter's wheel. And here is a little closer version of that. It shows a little bit better in this picture. So this is what I'm kind of going to make today. I'm going to build a wall and then a potter's wheel. And then, of course, I've already got Charles made. This was just some sort of Amigo doll. And if you look at him, look at the little picture. He actually kind of looks like him. I don't know who this character is, but he actually looks a little bit like my papa. I think I got this to use in my Hocus Pocus house, but since I've started this project, it's going to work really good for this. And I'm actually going to paint this because none of his pottery looked like this, so I'm going to actually paint it to look more like some of the Decker pottery. And then I'm even going to make where'd it go? I've got this little Sculpey clay. I'm going to actually make a few more extra pots myself to use for this. So I'm going to start with this and make some pots, and then that way they can be baking and getting finished while I work on the rest of it. Alright, so I've opened up my little Sculpey clay, and I'm just going to roughly make some little pots. Now, I'm not like an expert at making stuff, but, well, like, you know, with clay. Now, I'm actually wanting to get into actual pottery making, because learning about this pottery has gotten me to wanting to try to make pottery myself. And I have actually made 5 pieces recently, and I've got them to the stage where I just need to fire them. So I don't know if they'll survive the firing stage, but we'll see when they, you know, when it comes to that time. But that'll have to be a whole nother video talking about the pottery that I made. And he had these cool little jugs. I'm not even thinking about what I'm making. I'm just sitting here playing with this while I'm talking. I'm not even looking at what I'm doing. I'm looking at the camera, checking out stuff in the camera. But what am I doing? Oh my gosh. Let me start over here. Okay. He had these little pots that were like in a circle, and I will post a picture here. I'll post that picture to where you can see what I'm talking about. But he made these little circle jugs like that picture there, that I'd love to find one of those. If I ever went to an antique shop and saw one, I would know right away who made that. But anyway, that's what I'm going to try to create right now. Now, this is just going to be like a really bad version of that. But, oops. I just wonder, you know, I look at that piece and I think, how in the world is that made? I need to watch. I know people still make those type of jugs today in pottery making. I need to watch a video of how that's done. But anyway, I'm just gonna, I actually could do this better if I wasn't sitting behind a camera. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just gonna roughly do this. It don't have to be perfect. But there's that little jug. I'm gonna prop it up here. And then I just need to make a little base for it and a little top. But I'll probably go off camera, and I'm just going to make a few more pieces, you know, to sit around here. But like I said, I think I'm going to be able to do this better if I can focus on it and not worry so much about what the camera is picking up on. And also I need to get some tools and work with some tools, because I'm like, I mean, if you can tell, I'm like, in real life, it may not look like it, but I'm actually stretching my arms out like this. I've got it so far away from my face. I need to have it way back here where I can see what I'm doing. So anyways, I'm going to go off camera and just play with some of this clay and try to make some stuff that kind of resembles what I see in the pictures. All right, so I started over with that piece. I thought I've got to do this good, and I'm still not going to video everything because, like I said, I can't really video and try to do this at the same time. But I got it to where I could like get over it a little, you know, get it closer and really focus on it better. Because I thought if I'm going to do this, I got to do it right. I can't just half but do this. I thought I got to make him proud. If I'm going to make little pottery to represent his work, I've got to make it look cute. So I made this piece not quite as thick as I had it before. I made it kind of more thinner. All right, so I've got those done, and they are not perfect, but they're going to be pretty cute, I think, especially once I get them fired and get them painted. I think they're going to look pretty good. Working in miniature is not the easiest thing to do. This one was really hard to make. Well, really, they were all hard to make. That little bowl there is like my favorite. I actually sculpted that around the tip of this little Christmas light bulb just to help get that shape. And then in the picture, there's like some balls of clay stacked up. And that's what this is here. Made that little mini version of that. So I'll get these to baking, and then I'll get on to the next step. All right, so I have the pottery in the oven baking, and I'm going to start the potter's wheel. And just going by these pictures that I've got, I'm going to use a foam board and these little pieces of wood for the legs. And I'm not going to make this 100% accurate to how a potter's wheel would work, but I'm just going to come up with something that looks like it would work. But anyway, I've got 4 little legs cut out, and then I'm going to use foam board to make the boards, and also just some little thin cardboard. This is almost like a cereal box cardboard. I'm going to use some of that. And I think that's all. Now for the wheel itself, I was wanting to find an actual wheel, like a little toy wagon wheel or something. But I'm probably just going to make that out of foam board also. And I'm going to do it a little bit different than what his looks like. But I'm going to try to stay looking the way his was done. But anyway, I'm going to take all these little pieces and put them together to make that little potter's wheel. Now, let me see what I've got to so far. So I've got this little piece of foam board creating a floor and a wall, and I've just glued those together, and I've put some of those little stick pins like a sewing pin through there just to kind of act as a nail and hold that a little bit better. Now what I've done is I've made these front legs for the potter wheel, and I've made a little mark right back here at the top and the bottom. So that's kind of like the potter's wheel will be hooked to the wall and come out and rest on these legs. So these legs will be out here, and then I'm just going to put a shelf or a little board back here on the wall and sit the boards across here. Um, but I've actually got to put some boards out here to look like the boards on the wall that create the wall. So I need those vertical boards going up and down there. So I'll do that using cereal boxes. All right, so I've got my strips of cereal box. Got several of those, and I've just squirted out some glue here on the board. And I always make sure I put that lid back on there, because if you don't keep that lid, that tip of that glue bottle gets clogged. So I'm just going to kind of spread this out so it's not lumpy. You don't want lumps in it. So that's pretty good. And then I'm just going to take those strips of cereal box and just lay it down to create that board look. And I want to keep a little bit of a gap in between them, just cause old barn boards have a gap between them. And that's just as easy as that. Now when I get this done, I will lay a board, or I'll lay something across it just to give it some, to keep it flat. Just lay like some books on it or something. Just make sure the books don't glue to the wall. But dang, those took hold pretty quick. I'm trying to slide this one over, but it won't go. Oh my gosh. Okay, well that's okay. But that looks pretty good. Now up here at the top where they're hanging off, I'll just chop that off. But there's my little wall. That looks pretty cool. I'm getting so excited about this. This is going to turn out way cooler, and it's becoming a bigger project than I expected it to be. I just thought it was going to be so quick, but of course I'm having to make this, make his outfit, make the potter's wheel, make the pottery, and just like there's a lot more going into it. But I love doing stuff like this. I don't even think I need to lay a board or a book on that. That's held pretty good. I don't think it's going to come up, so I'm just going to leave that laying flat while I work. Now I'm going to have to remark this where I need my boards to go. So then I'll just glue these boards to there. And I want to make sure that stays below the line, like when it stands up, it should be below that line. So that when I put my legs out here, when I cut boards to go across there, they'll have something to lay on, which I can't use this flimsy cardboard, but see, that's the look I'm going for. That little board back here is just my shelf for the boards to rest on. All right, so this is where I am with the wall and the floor and the table. Now you can see where the table rests back here on that little board. And then I've got to put a board under here that the wheel will attach to. I've got this little wheel made out of some of that cardboard and foam board, and that will go under there. And then I've got this little pedestal piece where you actually make the pottery. It will be glued to that, and then it'll run down in here and connect to the wheel, but it needs to be short. That's way too tall, but I will cut that a little shorter. And then when the wheel turns, it'll make this turn. And of course, that's where you do your pottery. But that is way, way, way too tall. So I got to cut that down a little bit. But I think it's looking pretty cool. And then, of course, I've just got to do some more detail up here using some of the foam board and stuff. All right, so this is where I am now. Now, I think I've got it done all but the painting part. So it looks pretty good. Now, I had to put these pieces of foam here. I'm just going to paint them to look like some wooden logs or something because he was a little too short for the wheel. You know, a potter's wheel would be lower, so that just don't look right this high up. So I put that there, and now that's got it at the, you know, the height that it needs to be. But anyways, I've got the wheel done. Everything's done, and I think it's ready to paint. I'm just going to put like a solid color on here and then go back over it with some detail colors. Now let's see. I've got the wheel finished. I've even got that little box. I think this picture is been printed backwards. This box should be over on this side. I think the negative was backwards, but there's that little box. Now some of these pictures, it's the right way, like this one here. The little box is over in the corner. I've got a board going across here, but that looks pretty good. And let's see. These pictures are really cool. I found these, I'm not sure who had these pictures, but I had made copies of them. Now, down here at the bottom, you can see I've just cut out of cardboard some little tools that he can use out of some little thin cardboard just by looking at this picture. And then, of course, let me slide that over. Now, my little pottery pieces, I've rushed this because I've done this project in less than a day. But of course, I'm not done. I mean, I'm still sitting here working on it. But I kind of rushed these little pots, but I think they look good enough. And they're, of course, going to sit down here around the bottom. I'll probably glue those in place. Now, this one is something that a friend gave me, and I'm not sure who made this. Now, this is an actual piece of pottery, which I think it's going to look kind of cute just sitting down here at the bottom. It might be a little too big. Maybe it can sit up there next to him. I think that would be the best, and that'd help him sort of stand up. Now, I do need to give him some hair on his chin. He's got a little goatee that I need to give him, and there's still stuff I need to do to him also, and of course find him some shoes. But all these little tools will hang up here above him, but I'm going to change it up. The picture does not have a sign, but I actually have a little sign that says Decker Pottery. I'm going to move my camera up. All right, so I've got a little sign that says Charles Decker Pottery that I'm going to hang up here. And I'm going to hang these little tools up here just like you see them in the picture. But I was going to finish showing you the little pots that I made. These turned out pretty cute. I like them. Whoops. And this one's just like a little crock. Now those aren't very good, but I think they'll be okay once I get them painted. And then you can see he's working on a little crock right there. And then here's those little balls of clay, like in the picture. Here's a little vase that I painted. Well, not painted. I'm thinking about painting them, so it's got painting on my mind, but that I sculpted. Here's a little bowl with a little fluted edge, kind of that you can sort of see down in the picture. I tried to create that. And the fun part will be painting all this. Here's just another little crock. It don't actually have a bottom in it, but you're not going to know that once I get it stuck in here. Here's that little ring jug. You can actually see it in that picture there if you look through there. So that's what that is. That can hang on the wall. And I am absolutely loving this. Just seeing all this come together. And of course, getting it painted. Now, this is supposed to be a chicken feeder. I guess you put water in there and the chickens would drink out of there. That's not a very good representation of what they made, but I just tried to look at the picture and make it look as close to it as I could. Here's a little jug. And here's a little bank. They made all kinds of stuff. They made banks, jugs, jars, flower pots. And then I had that little ball of clay left, so that's just going to sit there next to him like he's going to make something out of it. Now, he actually came from Germany, so I'm sure he had like a real strong accent. But let me see. I'm looking at my pictures to see if there's anything else I need to do before I start painting everything. I think I've got it all done up, but I think it's looking really good. Oh yeah, here's a little crock. Now this is an actual piece of pottery. Don't know where it came from, but it's just something we've had, and that'll look good sitting in there. And that's kind of how I'm going to paint these pieces. Now his pottery actually were these colors. It was actually different colors. He had some that was brown, like a light brown, a dark brown, this gray color with that cobalt blue glaze. So I'm just going to look at some colored pictures that I've got and some of the pottery that we've got and kind of match it up and try to get these painted up. And I'll work on his hair and get all that done and then come back and put it all together. All right, so now this is where it is. This is how it looks after I got it painted. But I'm going to go over this once this is dry. I've got to dry brush a little gray over here so that it will look a little more like weathered boards. And I found this stuff that I've had. I got this a while back. It's like some landscaping stuff to look like dirt and grass. So I'm going to cover the base to look sort of like a mix of dirt and grass. And these little pots have turned out really good. That looks like actual clay. Well, I mean, it is clay, but I mean, it looks more like the type of clay you'd make pottery out of. And I've got all these little pots. I can't really move them right now, but they're down here painted, and they're looking really, really good. Um, so I'm just going to dry brush this. Oh, and another thing is my TV kind of blew up. It kind of done something weird. So I had to get in the floor and look at the plugs and stuff. But as I was in the floor crawling around, I found this under the TV cabinet. I had forgotten about this. This was another thing that I was going to use in my Hocus Pocus house, but I thought it was so weird that I found that just now. But that's just another little piece that will look really good for this project. So that one and this one both are things that I forgot that I had, and they work so good for this. And I was going to paint this, but I kind of hate to paint that. It's just really, really nice. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it the color it is. I may have too many pots because I don't even think my base is big enough for this many pots, but we'll see when we get closer time to decorating it. All right, so this is where I am now. I've got it painted the way I want it to be, and I've got the ground covered with that little mossy stuff, and it's looking pretty good. Now, I'm not going to brush that extra or that excess ground covering off until I think the glue has dried pretty good. And then I've put a little bit up here because I thought that looked sort of like clay, and it's sort of the same color as the pots that I'm using. So I don't know which one I'm going to put here. I made this one specifically for that space, but we'll play with the pots and figure out where we want to put each one of them. Now let me see. Oh yeah, I've got, I printed off some of his original business cards, and I had a picture of another one somewhere. I think this was an ad from the newspaper, and that's the sign that I want to hang right here. I just think that would look really, really good. But it was either between this one or this one here, and I think that one is his business card. I just had someone scan those and make me a copy of them, but I decided to go with this one because I just like the shape of it. So I'm going to glue that there, and then I've got all my little tools painted. I'm just going to stick my little pins in there, and I'm going to glue this on, but I'm also going to take some of my pins and just pin it to where that head will be seen, and it'll look like a little nail has nailed that into the board. And then I'm going to glue these little pots in place, but I want to do a little decoration on a couple of these with that cobalt blue detail. Oh yeah, and he's got his little goatee. I just used some yarn for that, and I guess that's it. Well, I still gotta go grab his shoes, but I think that's done. Other than just gluing the pots in place and hanging the little tools, I think we're just about done with it. So I'll get it all together and come back and check out how it looks, and then just hang all the little tools up. But I just had to show this while I'm working on it because it is just super duper cool. I absolutely love how this is turning out. I can't wait to get it done and like show it off because I'll have a lot of family that will love this. If I get glue on the wall, that's what I got this little paintbrush for. I can just sort of wipe that away. Uh, okay, I'm gonna go, I don't know, I guess right here. That looks good. All right, so I gotta remember he's gonna stand here. Oh, and this is a sponge. You know, you use sponges in clay, so I'm gonna take a piece of this sponge. I noticed even in the picture, he's got some sponges laying up here on the work table. So I'm gonna glue these in place. I'm gonna poke one down in here, but I'm gonna glue, even though that's a snug fit, I'm still gonna glue it. I absolutely love all the little details. You know, I've really gotten into miniatures ever since I've done the Hocus Pocus dollhouse, which I always, growing up, I've always loved miniatures. I used to have those toys called Mighty Max, kind of like a Polly Pocket, and I loved those growing up. Oh, here's that little ball of clay. And also, Charles Decker and two of his boys and two of his wives are buried just right down the road from where I live. I drive by their graves just about every day that I go to town. And you can even look those pictures up on the internet and see those. And one thing they made, you know, they made everything pottery, but they even made gravestones in pottery. And those will, of course, show up on the internet if you're checking it out. This little piece here, like I said, I just found this under my TV cabinet. I had completely forgotten about it. But that actually looks like a piece that is in the pictures. And this turned out kind of cute. I just think it all looks cool. Um, but the closer I get done to this, I get really excited towards the end, and I'm just kind of wanting to like rush it. But I got to make sure I don't forget anything. Okay, I hope that glue is going to hold good. Okay, so I absolutely love how this has turned out. This, I would almost say, I love this better than my Hocus Pocus house, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's a completely different project. It's a much smaller project, but I mean, I'm just obsessed with this. I love it as much as I do my Hocus Pocus house. I don't know if it's just because of the topic, if it's just because it's a relative. I guess I'm just being partial to it, but I absolutely love how this has turned out. Now, one thing I need to point out that I hadn't really mentioned before was, you know, his name was Charles Decker, and it's known as Decker Pottery, but his business name was Keystone. He had the company name was Keystone Pottery, but he actually got his start in Philadelphia and then moved to Abingdon, Virginia, made pottery there, and then he moved to Washington County, the Nola-Chuckey River, uh, Chuckey Valley, and that's of course where I live. And so, anyways, I just absolutely love how this has turned out. And again, just checking out these pictures one more time. Um, there's the little tools, and you'll see how my little creation has turned out. And, you know, it's funny because I made his outfit yesterday, I guess, and none of this had been started. This got started today. I didn't even start it early. I started at like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I've already got this done. It is like 11:07, and I've already been able to get this complete project done today. So I'm just so thrilled with how it's turned out. And here is what it is. I just think it's so amazing. I will take some pictures, like some close-ups of this, but I absolutely love how it turned out. I'm really, really excited. Um, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I guess he's just going to sit somewhere in my house until I figure out something. I've even actually thought about donating this to a little museum. I'm not decided that, so I'm not going to even say which one or where. But now, if you live in Nashville, Tennessee, they actually have, that is where these pictures were taken. Let me see. Actually, no, these were not. I thought I had a picture. They actually have, this is taken in the pottery building, but they actually have this potter's wheel in a museum, the State Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're in Nashville, go to the State Museum. I believe it's free to get in there. I'm not 100% sure, but they've got a big display of his stuff. And actually, this picture is from the State Museum. They have all these pieces along with the potter's wheel and a lot of the pottery. So you'll have to check that out if you're down that area. But I'll show some pictures now, just of some details, some close-ups. And I don't guess there was anything else I was wanting to say, but I just am, again, I've said it like a million times. I'm so excited with how this has turned out. And then you can sort of see some of the glue. The glue hasn't really dried, but even with that, it still looks really cool. So I hope you've liked this video, and now we'll check out some pictures of the close-ups.